Hello everyone. Tonight we are watching ourselves be watched. You're standing in front of the mirror in the oldest room of the house, except you're not in it. You're right there staring straight at it. You've checked the glass 3 times, tapped it once, breathed on it. Nothing. Then it fogs. There is no one else here. And the fog spells nothing, draws no runes, writes no curses. It only swirls like breath from a throat you can't locate. A pulse in the silver backing, a slow hush. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. It begins as many hauntings do with something that isn't yours. You find the mirror tucked into a wall you didn't know had depth. Behind the crumbling plaster of the nursery back when you swore it was just one flat, ruined surface. There had been a sound behind it once, like a faint gasp or an inhale. You thought it was a rodent. Or maybe the house just settling its debts with time. The mirror is older than the rest of the room. Not cracked, not smeared, not dusty, just a little clouded, like it remembers something you do not. The frame is bone-colored with a faint grain like wood. But it's not wood, not ivory either. Too light, too quiet. You knock once, and it sounds like tapping on a frozen lake. There's no record of it in the house documents. The mirror isn't listed in the 1912 inventory after the fire. No reference in the letters found in the floorboards. Just a drawing of a round face in a margin, with dozens of tiny eyes like barnacles. You clean the room. You try not to look at it directly, but every time you pass it, even with the sheet covering it now, you feel your breath fog slightly. Not yours. Not on the outside of your body, but just beneath your sternum. Like someone is sighing through you. You test it. You leave the room cold, return to find the glass smeared with dew. You record yourself walking away. The mirror fogs in your absence. You try vinegar, heat, chalk ceiling spells you found in a dubious forum, salt circles. None of it stops the fog. It only changes where it appears. Sometimes at the bottom, sometimes across the center like closed eyes. Once it forms handprints, not baby-sized but too long, too narrow, as though made by something that presses without weight. A scholar you email suggests it's a trick of air pressure. Uninsulated walls can create pockets of uneven thermal exchange, she writes. But you didn't mention the sounds, or the fingerprints on the backside of the glass, or that the mirror sometimes shows parts of the room that no longer exist, like the velvet curtains, or the old cradle with its hanging bone toys. That last one was never yours. And your mother insists there was never a cradle in the house. She laughs over video call and says, the oldest mirrors were polished obsidian. In Çatalhöyük, they've found Neolithic mirrors over 8,000 years old used to reflect the soul. Imagine brushing your hair while watching your ghost. You make a joke. Imagine the ghost brushing its hair watching me. She does not laugh. That night, the mirror fogs around what looks like the shape of a seated woman. Hair loose, watching you. You sleep in the hallway, you place towels at the door, you text your sister, who helpfully replies, maybe it's just really into ASMR. Later you hear humming through the wood. A lullaby you don't know, but it moves in the back of your skull like you should. A tune you remember from nowhere. You check the mirror. No fog, just your reflection. But there's a delay. When you raise your hand, the mirrored version hesitates just long enough for your stomach to drop. You get headaches now, subtle ones, behind the eyes. You read that some researchers believe staring into mirrors for long periods can cause dissociative symptoms, even hallucinations. The brain begins to overwrite the familiar says one theory. It scrambles the narrative of self. So maybe it's just that. Stress, fatigue, a bad sandwich, and a worse childhood. Or maybe not a joke this time, the mirror has never reflected you. Just the approximation of what you're supposed to believe. There's a folktale from Romania about a mirror that fogs when the soul inside it is lonely. They say it once belonged to a mourning widow who combed her dead child's hair through the glass, hoping the reflection would grow up where the body could not. When she died, the mirror stayed clear for decades until a new family moved in and sealed off the room. The mirror began to fog again. It's still sealed today. That's the tale anyway. You try to move it. It won't come off the wall. You try to shatter it. The hammer bounces back. You won't try again. Your wrist still clicks when it rains. You cover it again. But you hear it sometimes late at night, vibrating softly, like a voice trapped in glass. 3 nights ago, the fog spelled nothing. Last night, it fogged before you entered the room. Tonight, the room is quiet. The mirror uncovered, and it's already waiting. Already fogged. Already shaped like something breathing softly and slowly from the other side of the silver. You stand in the doorway, and something inside you exhales. You keep the nursery door closed now, but every so often it opens an inch wider than you left it. At first, you wedge a chair under the knob, then a stack of books, then the heavy iron kettle your grandfather used to boil bones in. It still smells faintly like marrow and burnt rosemary. You tell yourself this is comforting. Still, some mornings the door is ajar. Just slightly. Just enough for a breath of cool air to spill out. You consider moving out. But you've poured too much into the restoration. Besides, as your sister helpfully texts again, just sell the mirror to a rich influencer. Ghosts are great for engagement. You think she's joking. Then she sends a link to a TikTok of a haunted ring light. One night you dream of a time when the house was different. Candles and sconces, damp stone beneath bare feet. A woman humming while brushing a child's hair, but there's no child in the room. Only the brush moving slowly, stopping sometimes as though listening. You wake with a cold nose and an ache in your hands. Your fingernails are black with soot. You don't own a fireplace. The mirror is perfectly clean. You start keeping a log. Day 1. No change. Fogged in the shape of a circle today. Slight pressure in the chest. Day 3. Heard a whisper, unintelligible, like someone pronouncing your name through a straw. Day 5. Shadow behind me in the reflection. Checked behind. No one there. Day 6. Sister texts you should name her. Day 6 p.m. Fog spells a ring. Or an open mouth. You try humor to stay grounded. You start calling the mirror Clara. It sounds faintly Victorian and vaguely manageable. Clara has moods, you decide. Clara sighs when she's lonely. Clara fogs when she's impatient. Clara remembers rooms that don't belong to you. But you stop calling her Clara when the mirror fogs in a perfect oval, then wipes itself clean from the inside, like a hand drew across it, fingers invisible but forceful. You freeze. You feel your own breath pause in your throat. Later you learn about ancient Egyptian mirror spells. Some were believed to act as portals, windows for the Ka, the soul double, to slip between worlds. One text describes mirrors as polished gates through which Ra views the waking and the dead. But some scholars doubt these interpretations, suggesting they were just symbolic tools for ritual grooming. Others argue the mirror's spiritual significance has been downplayed because Western archaeology doesn't always take magic seriously unless it's written in Latin. Still, it sticks with you, a mirror not just for reflection but inspection. Not just to look into, but to be seen through. You begin to notice things outside the nursery. Subtle. Whisper thin. A second shadow along the hallway wall. A spoon balanced upright in your tea. A distant thud when you say certain words aloud like return or mother. You joke with a friend that your house has opinions. They send you a meme of a haunted Airbnb 4 stars. Ghost breathes too loud. You laugh. That night, the mirror fogs before you even climb the stairs. You leave your phone recording. At 3:11 a.m., the fog appears. A long stripe down the center. Then it parts as if a finger draws it open. Behind it, nothing. Just the nursery, but slightly warped. A little older, as if it's seen through different eyes. A cradle rocks faintly in the reflection. Yours does not move. You don't watch the full video, just enough to feel your breath turn cold again. You tape black cloth across the glass. It fogs through the fabric. You start sleeping with the radio on. Static mostly, a soft hiss. But sometimes there's a pop, a voice you can't parse. You wake with sentences half written on your arm in dust. Once I missed the sky. Another time not buried, just folded. You sleep less. You remember a story from your grandmother. She said mirrors were mouths. You feed them every day. With glances, with vanity, with fear. Never let a mirror face your bed, she warned, or it will chew your dreams and cough back something else. You laughed at her then, but the mirror doesn't. One night you press your ear to it. You hear breathing, but it's slower than yours, not quite human, like the breath of something that forgot how lungs work. A rehearsal of living. You ask aloud, "Who are you?" No answer. You whisper, "What do you want?" There's a faint tap, like a response. Then another, then silence. The next morning there's a word fogged on the glass. Moth, just that. Not mother, not mouth, not mother. Just a small winged thing, drawn to the warmth of light caught in the web of silver. You erase it. The next night it fogs in the shape of wings. You try science, a thermal camera, a humidity sensor, a long list of debunking videos saved to a folder titled "It's Just Condensation." But the readings don't add up. The temperature around the mirror is consistent. No air leaks, no microclimates. The humidity spikes only in a radius of 1 foot and only when you're not looking. It's as if the mirror exhales when it's alone. You record it again, this time with sound. There is nothing for the first hour. Then at 2:46 a.m., a hiss, short like a snake clearing its throat. Then something like brushing, not against the mirror but from within it, like fingertips raking softly along a surface that resists being touched. You hear a creak, not from the floorboards, from the glass itself, a tension, a stretch, as if it's learning to move. You close the laptop and leave the room. That day you dig into obscure texts, a 16th century treatise on spiritual reflectivity, a mention of Roman funerary mirrors buried with the dead, so they could adjust their appearances before entering Lethe, a single unsettling entry. In a forgotten index of European superstitions, some silvered glass carries breath from the other side. The fog is not yours, it is what remains of theirs. The footnote says, extinct source possibly apocryphal. Consult T. Hendershot if he still replies to letters. You write to him anyway. The email bounces. That night the mirror fogs around the outline of a face. Elongated, smudged, the features only half formed like something still waking up. You don't enter the nursery, you close the door. It opens by morning. You place flour on the nursery floor, a light layer like snow. You sleep with the lights off and your phone filming again. In the morning, the flower is undisturbed, except in one place just in front of the mirror, there's a single line as if drawn by a finger dragged through breathless air. No prints, no feet, just that. You brush it clean. The next night, there are 2 lines. The mirror fogs whenever you leave the house now, as if it misses your breath or collects it in your absence. You stop speaking aloud in the mirror room. Words feel slower there. Too round in your mouth. One evening you whisper a single syllable home and the mirror fogs violently. Not in a pattern, just fast and full, like a scream held in vapor. You do not speak there again. There's a new sound though. It happens between 3 hours and 4 hours a.m. A knocking, always 2 taps, then one softer, then silence. You record them. They match an old nursery rhyme you once read in an anthropology journal, 2 to knock, 1 to cry. If she taps 3, don't reply. The rhyme was found carved in the wood of an abandoned 17th century orphanage in Wales. The article included a blurry photograph of the carving right next to a broken mirror. Some scholars dismiss it as apocryphal. Children invent patterns to control the uncontrollable, writes one researcher. There's no evidence the mirror was anything more than decoration. Another disagrees. The mirror's frame was fossilized ivory not common to the region, possibly prehistoric, possibly not from here at all. You do not know what that means. You no longer sleep, not deeply. You nap with one eye open. You start dreaming even when you're awake. Once, while washing your hands, you look into the bathroom mirror and see the nursery behind you. Just for a second, just the edge of it. Then your own face again, trying to pretend it didn't flinch. One evening, in a desperate gesture, you write on the fogged glass with your fingertip, "What do you want?" The mirror clears itself. Then fogs again. One word appears. Remember. The room falls silent. Your heart makes a slow echoing knock in your ribs. Remember what? You don't know. You sleep that night with your back to the wall and dream of wings. Thousands of them. Soft pale. Dusty, like the bodies of moths. Not flying, turning in slow synchronized spirals around a mirror buried in roots, around a child's bed, around something you've forgotten how to name. In the dream, you are very small, and someone is brushing your hair, but their hand is too cold. Their fingers do not end. You wake with your hair parted down the center, clean and dry. You haven't touched a comb in days. You find an old photograph the next morning, one that was not there before. It shows the nursery intact. Curtains, a cradle, a person turned away from the camera standing before the mirror. The figure is fogged over just slightly, just enough to blur the face. You check the back. There's no writing, just the faint outline of a moth wing imprinted in old oily ink. You place the photo face down. It curls toward the mirror on its own. The mirror is heavier now. You don't mean physically, it's still anchored to the wall, still unmoving, still as cool and patient as a tombstone, but it has presence, weight. Like when someone stands behind you without making a sound and somehow your spine knows before your ears do. Even the cat won't go near the nursery now. She sits in the hallway and hisses at the wall. Not the mirror, not the door, just the air between. You've taken to calling it the mirror room. Not a nursery. Not anymore. Nothing new has grown there in decades. Just breath and fog and something trying to remember your name. You finally tell someone else, a friend, the kind who's never afraid of anything. She arrives with sage and a bell and two kinds of smirks. It's probably radon gas, she says, or undiagnosed mold hallucinations, or your repressed inner child. She sets her bag down with confidence and calls the mirror darling on first glance. You feel almost safe until she rings the bell. It doesn't chime, not in the mirror room. Outside, yes, loud, clear. But in the mirror room, the bell makes no sound. Just a dull thunk as if the air refuses to carry it. She laughs nervously, rings it again, same silence. Then the mirror fogs. No shapes, no words. Just a wide oval of breath. Larger than usual, taller. Is the window open? She asks, already knowing the answer. There is no window. That's when the smell begins. Not rot, not sulfur, not even dust, but something ancient. Damp wood. Old teeth, bone boiled soft, like the residue of centuries spent listening through walls. Your friend leaves before sunset. She texts you later. Cleanse your space, but don't cleanse the mirror. Just keep it cold. You ask why. She doesn't reply. That night, the mirror fogs with a message again. You were, that's all. You try to answer. You write in the fog. What was I? The mirror clears instantly, as if insulted. The next night, it doesn't fog at all. The silence is worse. You miss the sound of breathing. The condensation, the vague gestures of acknowledgement. Now it feels like a door locked from the inside. For 3 nights, nothing. Then the scratching begins. Soft at first, like twigs on a window. Then louder. Bone on glass. A finger with no skin. You record it. At the peak of the scratching, there's a soft hum. The same lullaby from your dream. A tune that loops in 3 notes like a rocking motion. Sleep adjacent. Almost kind, but too steady. Too exact. As if automated. As if practiced. You remember the moth? Not just the word, but the shape. You search through your books until you find an old folktale from northern India. It tells of a forest that birthed mirrors, not made born. crafted from the wings of moths so large their shadows blotted out stars. The mirrors were said to be soft to the touch and impossibly thin, held together by memory. They didn't reflect light, only intention, what the viewer meant to see, or what the world meant to show. Some researchers dismiss the story as pure metaphor. Others think it's a distorted memory of early silvered glass. But the phrasing in the tale lingers. The mirror drinks what is forgotten and returns it when you are too hollow to look away. You stop sleeping entirely. Instead, you sit in the nursery, watching. You bring a candle in one night, just to test. Its reflection flickers perfectly. Except in the mirror, the flame bends slightly to the left, while in your hand it sways right. Opposite winds. Different breaths. The candle sputters, goes out. The mirror fogs, a mouth, wide, silent, and softly open. You stare into it, and for a moment, only a moment, you feel warmth, recognition. As if the mirror knows you, not as you are now, but as something older. Something that stood here before the floorboards, before the walls, when there was only breath and waiting and cold. You speak without meaning to. I remember. No one taught you to say it. No one told you what it meant. But the mirror clears again, slowly, reverently. This time it leaves no fog behind, only a faint trail of scratches, small but deliberate. You trace them with your finger. They form a spiral. Inward and like a fossil, like a fingerprint, like something returning to where it began. Your hand stings faintly. You look down. A thin line of blood has formed on your fingertip, though the glass was smooth. You press your finger to the mirror. It fogs instantly, then clears to show the back of your head. You turn. No one there. You face the mirror again. Your reflection is normal. Almost. You lean in closer, and for the first time you see her. Not behind you, inside you. Her eyes behind yours, watching from the breathless place. Older than dust, lighter than bone. The mirror exhales, and you breathe in. There are no more messages now. No fog, no knocks, no lullabies, just silence. But the mirror is not empty. It watches. You begin to forget simple things. Where you place the sugar, the names of colors, your sister's voice. Once, while boiling water, you forget what it's for. The kettle screams. You just watch. Time becomes brittle. You feel it crack if you move too quickly. So you stop moving. You sit in the nursery most days now, watching, waiting. The light no longer reflects the same way in the mirror. It bends slightly, grayer, softer, as though the sun must pass through a long silken tunnel to reach you. You remember the moths, the wings that never flapped but listened, the ones from the story woven into living mirrors, made not of glass, but memory, of intentions. And you realize this mirror doesn't show you. It chooses you. What you've been seeing isn't reflection. It's replacement. Some nights you dream of falling into it. Not with a crash, but a sigh. A smooth, soft descent into stillness. In the dream, the glass holds no resistance. You pass through it like breath through frost. You wake with your hands damp, palms up, like offering. One morning you find the cradle. Not in the mirror. In the real room. It wasn't there yesterday, not last week, but here it is, wood darkened with time rocking slowly, though there's no breeze. No child inside, just folded cloth, pale, moth-eaten. Next to it on the floor is the comb, bone-handled, ornate. You touch it and it hums, not out loud, in your hand, like something alive and ancient remembering how to purr. You pick it up and feel the mirror watching you. You lift the comb to your head. You begin brushing. The movement is slow, familiar, not yours. The breath behind your teeth is not yours either. When you blink, the room is different. Not modern, not old, timeless. There are no walls now, only veils. The floor is soil, then wood, then something older, smooth like stone, warm like skin. The mirror is round, hanging in the air. The woman is there. She wears your face, but not your posture. She stands still as if held in place by purpose alone. Her hands are yours, but more practiced. Her eyes are open, but the gaze is from somewhere far behind them. Something watching through her. Through you. She mouths something, but there's no sound. Just the fog. You don't remember walking closer, but you're at the mirror's edge now. Your breath joins hers. One fog. One body. You touch the glass again. It is not cold. Not anymore. It fogs gently. Like sleep. You lean forward, and in that final moment the nursery tilts not in space but in memory. Like someone has turned a page you were still reading. The mirror opens. You are no longer on this side. The cradle rocks once, then stops. The room is empty. The mirror is clear. No breath, no message. Just the quiet weight of something fulfilled. Outside, the wind stirs. Somewhere a moth flutters against the glass. You are not watching. You are the watcher.